This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is a show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. One of the things that interests me about dreams is if there's a difference in how they affect various types of people. For instance, in an earlier show, I spoke with a historian who studied the dreams of Civil War soldiers and their families. Today, we're going to explore the dreams of another specific group of people, women in prison. My guest, dream worker and author Carol Oshmann, took a look at their dreams and wrote about them in her award-winning book, Prison Dreams. And she's here to talk about them now. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Carol.
Thank you, Debbie. Glad to be here.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Well, Carol, what got you interested in studying the dreams of incarcerated women?
Our senior citizen community in Florida was, maybe 3-4 miles from a women's prison. And a lot of the ladies in my circle were going in and teaching classes on cooking or drawing or parenting or how to do a checkbook. All kinds of things, religion, of course. And I picked up the phone one day and called the chaplain and said, do you think they'd be interested in dreams? And she said, absolutely. I was in within 2 weeks.
So how many women did you speak to?
Overall, well, I tried to limit it to 15, and there were 5 compounds, and she was going to choose 3 from each. But that first night, there was over 20.
I'm going to say, did they volunteer, or were they just selected? Were they people who knew in advance, or that you knew who were already dreamers or remembered their dreams?
I did not know any of them, and a lot of them were just had an interest, had dreams, and wanted to know what it was about. Some were sent by the guards because they would scream all night and keep everybody awake, made everybody's life miserable.
So when you met with them and talked with them about their dreams, did you interpret them for them, or did they figure it out themselves? How did that work?
We had a blackboard, and I showed them how to do it themselves. We'd put as much of the dream as I could capture on the blackboard, and then I'd show them how to circle the nouns and the action and take it off to the side and do free thinking, and something would click. But that first night, it was pretty much my telling them.
So how many people were that first night?
There was over 20.
And did you talk to each one of them about their dreams?
Many of them. There were so many I couldn't remember. The one that stood out in my mind was this lady who was going to be released probably the next week. And she had this dream where she went into a morgue and had to identify her boyfriend's dead body. And she went in, and there's this body on the drawer, and his mother was standing in the corner going crazy, as you imagine you might be in that situation. And she pulled back the sheet. Yep, that's him. She covered him back up. No emotion, she said. She started to leave, and she was drawn to another drawer. She pulls it out, and there's a baby. And this baby was sitting up and clapping and playing and having a grand old time. She left the room, and then she got to puzzling over it, and she went back in, and there sits her supposedly dead boyfriend sitting up playing with the baby. And she said to me, now don't tell me I'm going back and have a baby with that so-and-so. She said, no way. And so, we have to look at the different words in there. The baby is a new life. The dead boyfriend, he's part of you, and he's a part of you that's long been dead. I said, this old lady thinks of the male energy as someone who's going to put the bread on my table and the roof over my head. I said, pardon me, you might think of it another way. I said, but this baby is a new life, and it's not really a new life because he's sitting up and playing. So I think it's a talent you have or something you're supposed to be doing that you know about, but you haven't pursued. And all the ladies in the room yelled out, your music. It seems she'd been entertaining them there at, in the prison. And we talked about what she could do with her music. I said, even no matter what job you have, find a way to use your music. Go to a church, sing in a choir. You can sing at weddings. There must be some way you can use your music. You open a door for God to step in and give you more. The chaplain called me later that week, and she said many lives were changed that night. The power of the dream.
So tell me who else was affected in that first night?
Well, I can't tell you that first night. There were just so many. But mind you, I've met with them for 3 years, and they were supposed to be 16-week classes, and then I'd get a new group. So I talked to a lot of women in there.
How many altogether do you think?
I don't know. So maybe 200-300, maybe more.
And were there any common themes that ran among their dreams?
Surprisingly, no. But talking about changing your life, I had one young lady, she had to have been in her early 20s, and she was so pretty and little and dainty. And she said she had a dream that she was flying over a sea of snakes, and they were yellow and brown. And I said, well, off the top of my head, yellow to me is joy. And there again, the women all knew her, and they shouted out, her name is Joy. And she come back a couple weeks later where she had I told her that the snakes, I felt a little bit on shaky ground here, but I had to tell it like I saw it. I said, the snakes are what you think of this prison population, and you are among them. The yellow Joy is mixed up with the other snakes. And they all shouted out, yeah, you got that one right. But when I taught them to put it on, how to interpret by putting it on the board and writing it, they got to be very vocal. They come up with a lot of good ideas themselves, possibilities of what it might mean. And as you know, the dreamer is the only one who knows the truth. Mm-hmm. You can't tell anyone what their dream means. It has to go, aha, inside them. And a few weeks later, she had a dream of going up in a big old house to the attic, and there were a chest of drawers, and she just looked at it, and she turned around and left. Well, I told her that try to go back. I told her how to go back into that dream, and go to that chest of drawers and open up one of the drawers, because there's opportunities for you there. So the next week she come back, she was able to do it. And what she found in that chest of drawers were prison pants, not the tops, just the bottoms. They were blue with a white stripe down the side, and they were very beautiful material. They were velvety. And so I told her I thought something good was going to come out of this prison experience because of it being the nice material. And the next week, she said, I know what that dream meant. She said that the prison guards came to her during that week. The person who was in charge of the wastewater facility, the inmate, had been released, and they asked her if she would do it. And she had the right to say no. She thought about it, and she thought, getting her the wastewater, the toilet water, and all that, it wasn't for her. But because she'd opened those drawers and discovered something beautiful inside the prison life, she said yes, she would do it. Well, the other women were just so thrilled for her. They started yelling out things like a job on the outside, benefits. You don't have to rely on a man to provide your living. And that was very, very encouraging for both her and I that she saw that.
So they're actually life-changing results as a result of them paying attention to their dreams.
Oh, yes, yes. One lady had an addiction problem, evidently. I wasn't allowed to ask them anything about their personal lives, but it would come out. She dreamt that she was sitting in a chair with a table in front of her. It had a big emerald green ashtray in front of her, and it was full of roaches. What are roaches? She said they're marijuana butts. And she was picking them out of the ashtray and putting them into a brown paper bag. And walking up to her is this man she knew who she hated. He was the bully of the neighborhood. Nobody liked him. And she said he wanted all the marijuana butts. So she gave them to him, and last she saw was the back of him walking away from her and this bag of butts in his hand. Well, that one was kind of easy for me. I said, everything in your dream is you. The drugs are you. This man you hate is part of you that you hate. And he's walking away. He's taking what makes you unhappy with yourself. He's taking that and he's walking away. To me, that's saying your drug addiction is over. You don't have to go back there anymore.
And were you able to find out if she was able to get rid of her addiction?
Oh yeah, she went on. Some of them kept coming back, even though they weren't scheduled to come back in later classes, and she was one of them. And next dream she brought in, had taken some friends to the beach, and they were like knee high in water. And she noticed a shark swimming nearby. And she wanted to warn them, and she swishes the water and scares the shark. And the shark stands up on his tail fins and just, goes back and forth and stands up there. Well, she said to the shark, he was toothless, he was wrinkled, he was old, and she saw he was harmless. And he said to her, well, why don't you come home with me? My wife would like to meet you. I found out later she was gay. They all knew that. And that was pretty funny that the shark's wife wanted to meet her. So I was trying to analyze it, and I told her, you must think of yourself somewhat as a shark. Do you bully people? And she admitted she did. She was one who, if they're standing in line waiting to go somewhere and they're supposed to be absolutely quiet, she'd bark in the ear of the one in front of her and made a lot of enemies. But she was always pulling pranks like that. She was a joker at the same time. But that's how she saw herself at that point, was old and wrinkled and no longer shark material, toothless. She'd lost her power. About a year later, she met me at the gate as I was coming in. She was so excited because she'd had a dream where she was walking the beach and she was picking up shark's teeth. So in other words, she was getting her power back.
That is wonderful. It just shows the power of dreams for everyone, how they all can be so life-changing and life-affirming. But with that, we're going to take a short break. We are speaking about prison dreams with author Carol Oshmann, and we'll be right back. If you're not pleased with the trajectory of your life, the time to begin your own personal transformation is now, and your dreams can help pave the way. How? By tapping into your unvoiced confidence. What is unvoiced confidence, you say? It's the acceptance of your abilities and qualities. It's a state of mind coming from liking and even loving yourself, and feeling free to say or do anything you want without concern for the judgment of others. You were born confident, but may have had it chipped away little by the negative self-beliefs you've picked up over the years. If you're looking for the heightened energy, clarity of thought, and the feeling of being more alive that comes from self-confidence, you can rediscover it by paying attention to your dreams. Need some help doing this? Go to my website, thedreamcoach.net, and sign up for my complimentary dream discovery session. I can help show you how your dreams can help you return to the confident person you were always meant to be. Again, go to thedreamcoach.net. thedreamcoach.net.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking about the dreams of women in prison with Carol Oshmann. So, Carol, you're talking about you had these women in classes where you met with them. Did you find that your sessions became more like dream circles where the other prisoners would also contribute their opinions about the dreams?
Yes, yeah, they learned to do that really fast. When we would hit on something that was kind of stumbling block for me, they quite often came up with a meaning for it, and they were it was a very good group.
Yeah, well, and was there a difference between the groups over the years, or did they have things in common?
That I've had on the outside?
Well, no, I mean, you said you had groups, it was like a 16-week program.
Yeah.
So were the different groups different, or were they all kind of similar?
I did have one group that I was going over the book in preparation for speaking to you, and I had one group that they sat far apart from each other. You had, last time I was on, you'd asked how is their dreams different, and it's because they have more stress, but they also have fear. And they fear all kinds of things, each other. And in this group, they all sat far away from each other. And I had to do all the talking. And back then, I had a lot more to say. I'm getting a little old, long at the tooth on this. Talk about shark's teeth. But eventually, they got to move down near each other and become friends. They made friends within the group, but they were afraid of what was going on back home. Were their children being taken care of properly? Were they going to get beat up? It happens a lot in prison, not in this prison I was in. They call that cupcake prison, but that's no longer there. Now they were moved up to Lowell Prison Correctional Facility in Gainesville, Florida. And it's a entirely different story. I don't know if I would want to go up there, but I would hope someone would.
So talk a bit more about the fear. How did their fears show up in their dreams?
There was one lady in particular. She had a dream that she was reading a newspaper, and the headline was serial child rapist loose in the area. And she was so scared for her children, and she made a phone call to her mother who was taking care of her children. This was in the dream, and told her mother to, keep the children close to home. And her mother said that the children were in school. And as soon as they got home, well, then she worried about them, getting home safely. But we did a little bit something different with this one. We did what we call dream theater. And I assigned them different parts. And the dreamer played herself, but somebody else played the headline. And she got right in the dreamer's face and shouted out, "I'm a serial rapist and I'm coming after you." And then she called her mother. We acted it out. There was a mother, there were children, but they were playing on the blackboard. Then we switched parts, and she became the mother, and two other people were the headline and the dreamer. And she realized all of a sudden, we didn't have to finish it. She said, "Oh my God, I'm scaring my mother for no reason." And then someone else said, "Well, didn't your mother have a heart attack a little while ago?" And she said, "Yes, she did." So she realized the pressure she was putting on her mother that she had to keep to herself.
Moving to a slightly different topic, did you find that sharing those dreams and talking about the dreams helped them get along better with each other in prison?
I believe it did. They made friends within the group. That was for sure. They made friends. Getting along, I had one lady who came, the guards sent her to me because she screamed all night long. And everybody was hating her, just hating her and making fun of her during the day. And the thing is, she had one wooden eye that as a child she'd been shot and lost the eye. And we felt these were, call them demons, if you will, that were bugging her. And I told her about an episode that I had had with so-called demons, and that I asked her first, I said, "Are you taking the religion classes?" And she said, "Yes, I'm studying as hard as I can." I said, "Well, what I did is I yelled out to God when this was happening to me. And I told God, take these away. I'm doing everything that I know possible to do what you tell me to do. If I don't understand, tell me another way." And the demons were gone for me. Well, she tried it. And the next week she brought in a bunkmate who, as a witness, she said she stood up on her bed at night and she yelled out, the guards must have loved her, "Take these demons away. I don't want them. I'm trying to be good." And they didn't, as far as I know, they never came back.
It is amazing.
It's just amazing, yes.
It is. Did you see any difference between the dreams of those who were in prison for a short time versus those who were in there for a longer period of time?
I can't say that I did. The ones in there for a longer period of time had more time for God to work on them. I feel God's bringing you these dreams to improve your life. And if you're not in there for very long, you don't get the opportunity to work on the dreams. So my only hope was that they would remember, that they would take me seriously and they would practice it on the outside.
Mm. And did you feel that their dreams did help them for life after prison?
Yes, I've kept in touch with a few of them. They have a website called Change Comes Now. Deborah Bennett Austin is the founder of it. And they do whatever they can for the women inside. They, if you're in there and you have nobody to put money into an account for you, you can't buy toothpaste, you can't buy tampons, you can't buy toilet paper. And quite often you have to buy these things for yourself. So she hooks up people like myself, and it's like $20 a month is all you put in this one person's account until they're out free. She just recently took a caravan of cars to the prison, and they donated 2,700 masks to the women in the prison. So they stay in touch with each other.
Mm-hmm. So have you been able to do any follow-ups? For example, that woman who, discovered, her joy of music. Did she ever follow up on it?
No, I haven't, and I don't know her name. I would be interesting to know.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think that we who are on the outside and may never see the inside of a prison, what can we learn from these dreams?
What was that question?
I said, what can we learn from the dreams of these women?
Oh, that there's hope. There's hope for everyone. And no matter how dull or bored or crappy your life seems to be, study your dreams. You'll find some truth in them, and you'll find opportunities. You'll find things you never thought of. Things come up from your unconscious that maybe you had thought you wanted to be as a child, and give you something to work on, something to look forward to.
Well, Carol, I know you are a woman of faith. So did you see faith playing a role in their dreams?
Oh, yes. It was pretty much necessary. They had to accept that somebody was talking to them. It wasn't just their dinner or what happened to them during the day. Somebody special was bringing these dreams to them.
So when you had, your classes with them and you said you had a chalkboard and you wrote things down on it, what was your method for helping them learn how to understand their dreams?
Well, they were allowed to have notebooks and pens and just to write their dreams. And they couldn't always understand them right away, but they could go back and read the last 2-3 months and they'd find truths in there. And it just gave them a solid foundation for believing in God, as I put it. It's not accepting what somebody else says is truth, but it's knowing the truth for yourself.
Those are amazing lessons to learn from that. How can people find out more about you and your work?
I have a website. It's caroloshmann.com, and my books are all there, including Prison Dreams and Biblical Dream Study, because the Christians have been my thorn in my side, because a lot of them believe, but a lot of them say that it's the devil and don't do it. So I had to go through the Bible, and there were 134 times that dreams are mentioned, and got a book out of it. The things that happened to Joseph and Jacob and Solomon, and they were lessons for us. They weren't just nice stories in the Bible. They were lessons for us in our lives.
How true that is. Well, thank you, Carol, for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Well, thank you for having me.
We've been speaking with dream expert and author Carol Oshmann. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you have, please tell all your friends, follow me, and drop a positive review on your podcast site. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.